We are back, Adebola. It's great to be
Yeah,
back and great to see you.
yeah, yeah. Nice, nice, nice. I hope your year started on well. Mine has been pretty busy, but I can see you on LinkedIn blinking. So well done. Love the conversations. Really, really do. I do.
It's so busy for everyone at the moment, isn't it? I think 2026 is going to be the year for everyone where so much happens, so much gets done, and so many exciting things take place.
Marketing is beginning to really evolve as the year has come on. With the tools, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, everyone. I think marketing is one of the major parts of business that has been touched the most, like revolutionized the way we do it. So it was really nice to come on this conversation and see what you think about a number of these subjects. Even at this stage, do we still need marketing? What do you think?
Well, that
Is it
is
necessary?
the answer to that question from me, as you would expect, is absolutely 100 million% yes. We do need marketing. I think everyone is excited about AI in every area of every business. Yeah. Well, let's get on to that. We'll dig deeper into that. But for me, AI is all about doing what we've thought might be less possible. So doing things faster, scaling things up, really stretching ourselves to do more, do things at a high quality level. The pace and acceleration of things like even marketing compliance approvals in regulated businesses can be faster and more thorough. But I think, for me,
Yeah.
the bit that we can't ever take away and replace through AI is the emotional connection. AI doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a beating heart like we do. So my perspective is, we always need this human overlay onto AI, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
So tell me I'm wrong,
Yeah.
Antabola. What
No,
what
I
have I
think
missed?
you're very right. You're very right. Although you find some businesses start to really differentiate themselves because some bosses or some decision makers will say, I don't need a heart. I just get me whatever gets me this done quickly. And I think that's a conversation we're going to have, I think next week, if we have time, to be able to then say that that becomes the winner. When everybody starts to sound the same, the
Yes.
winners become those that actually have the layer you just spoke about, those that have empathy, that sound like humans, that understand the voice of a human, that know how to really, really tell their own story. So I'm with you 100%. The only other part of it I would also say is when it then comes to experience, it becomes important now because I find myself saying, I want to write a deck, a go-to-market. Yesterday, I was writing a go-to-market sheet for my team. They had written one for the client. And then I was like, how would I put in some elements around storytelling under the positioning, just to give it a little bit of vavavoom. They didn't look at things like that. So my experience kicked in because I was like, for this kind of client, this kind of positioning would make more sense. So now that we have these tools to write those conversations for us, the experience of the team now comes to bear so that they can bring their learned, that journey they have into the way they prompt so that their conversations are unique for, outputs that they get from AI tools.
100%. I think one of the things that when I started using some of the AI tools like ChatGPT in the early days, probably the same as everyone, I didn't realize the attention to detail you need in the prompt. The prompts have to be really rich and really information rich for AI to do its job. However, I still think there are instances where AI doesn't do what you want it to do. So you can give it a
Oh,
really
yeah,
thorough instruction point by
yeah.
point. And if it's an image generator, for example, it will think it's done it and tell you it's done it, but actually saying you haven't done what I asked you to do. So it's that persistence that a human would have if they'd got a job back from an agency or a colleague that wasn't good enough. We still need that persistence with AI. And I think, like anything, the AI can only be as good as the instructions we give it, but it will make mistakes. For all its
Yeah.
brilliance, the way it can
I
generate
find
stuff in
myself,
seconds is incredible. Still incredible.
it is.
Um,
It is. And I like the fact that you're talking about when we have to repeat things or get it to clean things up. It writes a document and it models the text. And I'm like, come on, can
yes.
you fix pages 5 and 6? The text is modeled. And they say, oh, right. And I'm like, am I a bully? Am I not? Am I
Well,
telling myself to, you
well,
know?
uh, exactly. I mean, I think when you look at the possibilities that are there and the things that are brilliant that it can do, it's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, fantastic. We're blown away. But there are still things it can't do. There are still things that it's developing, like any new technology. And I'm old enough to remember when the internet first came about in our hands, and we had maybe 10, possibly more browsers. We had Ask Jeeves, various Yahoo, all of these others. Lycos was another. And they didn't always get it right. The search engine results pages were quite a mess, whereas now we can find information at our fingertips. So I think, like we'll go on to look at next time, AI is becoming more and more important in this world, and more and more relevant to every team and every business. So I think those
It's
businesses that
evolving.
succeed are the ones that will embrace it, and teams
Yeah,
embrace it. Um,
yeah,
and I look at it as, if there are 10 members in a team doing different things and each being a subject matter expert on that particular channel or area, if each of those is able to use the right AI for their job and the right
yeah.
AI for them to scale, grow, it means, you've got a beautiful orchestra of
That's a
people in
successful
the
team.
instrument. I see AI as the instrument, but the team
Yeah,
member as the person playing the instrument.
nice. No,
Well,
no,
you're the
I think
expert
that
on
really
AI.
well, yeah,
You're the
but I
expert
think
on it.
that really puts it all together.
Hmm.
For me, building, working in Zent AI Labs now and building infrastructure for a number of companies, it becomes even exciting because at the beginning of the conversations, we're just getting people to even talk about it. Like people were
Hmm.
just hyped about it. But now so many clients are actually investing in it. You have a lot of products in production, not even POC level or let's experiment. No, production. So it's interesting that a lot of companies are beginning to adopt and adapt to the fact that AI is here. But again, I think what you're saying is a call to watch, to say, don't forget the humans in the loop. Don't forget to build around your heart and at the heart of your brands and heart of your business, because that's what's going to keep you long after the technology.
Yeah,
Cool stuff.
absolutely. I mean, I think some of the ways in which AI affects the day to day are incredible. So let's say you've got a simple task of proofreading a document. We can do it with our
Mhm.
human eyes, but everyone in marketing has been in a scenario where maybe three or four people have looked at something and not spotted a mistake because we've become snowblind to it. The AI can find that
Yeah.
mistake in seconds. So the combination of the human and the AI works perfectly. There are instances like that were brilliant.
So let's get on to another conversation. Ready for this? Got another
Yes,
question for you.
yes.
So now we've agreed. We need marketing, so wherever you are, if you're thinking of firing your marketing team or downing their budget, I'll tell you, do not do that. You need your marketing team now way even more than ever. So the thing now for you, Tom, is to say, how do we know marketing is working? Now that there are these new things and shiny tools around, how do we know it's working? How do we measure? How do we know that this is actually worth my buck?
Very good question that I guess most CFOs and CEOs ask themselves all the time, possibly even some CMOs. Do we know everything is working? I think one of the big stats that comes out to me is, the latest survey information suggests that only 30% of marketing teams are confident in their attribution, so their ability to say, we've done this and this is the result we've got, which means 7 out of 10 marketing teams aren't confident about that. But we know results of marketing drive 100% of budget decisions. So a smart marketing team will be very focused on tracking attribution, being able to show and prove that it's got a return on investment for the business. And I think if it can do that, or even if it can show 80% or 70% of the stuff we do is working well, then that gives the business confidence to continue to invest in marketing. I remember a financial controller I used to work with many years ago, a guy called Andy Biggs, who's a great guy, who's retired now. He told me as a young
Nice.
marketer, he said, we all know marketing works, but we just don't know which half works. And I think that can be applied to a lot of marketing scenarios, where we get it above 50%, that's when we really start to get ultimate confidence to invest more money and resource into something.
Because I've always respected your craft when it comes to marketing and attribution. And, you've always studied clicks and understanding exactly how brands are able to get return on investment when it comes to where to look for the customer, the touch points, and how to measure all that. But hasn't AI thrown all that into the water for you? Because how do you now start to look at clicks if we're not clicking so much? For me, I'm like, is it time to start to look at the impression? Like, how did they get here rather than what did they do when they got there? What do you think?
Well, I think a good smart marketing team or a CMO or business will always have the ability to zoom in or zoom out of particular results. So, for example, if you take impressions, impressions, ad plays,
Yeah.
whatever we want to call them, they play an important part at the top of the funnel, at every stage of the funnel. It's getting word and the brand and the product out there. But some businesses dismiss them. They say they're irrelevant. That's just fluff. It's noise. But actually, the cost of every impression is something we should measure. Definitely something we should measure.
Okay.
As we go down the funnel, we can look at clicks. We can look at the outcome of the clicks. I think, in a world where maybe clicks on Google search results are diminishing, the fact that you're there in the Google
Mm,
SERP at number 1 or 2, the pair of eyes will see it because,
yeah.
usually even if AI gives the answer, we do still scroll a little bit and look at the results underneath. So there's a value in
True.
being there. Just like if you send an email and it hits an inbox and the person doesn't open the email, if you get the subject line right and
Yeah.
it's from your brand, the person will see it. So in a
Yeah.
business that's smart and they zoom into clicks and outcomes and zoom out to impressions and reach, the bit that's important there is to appreciate that marketing is a drip feed process. It's, very unusual that one thing will trigger a purchase. It's usually the build up of lots of touch points, different exposures in different channels and environments. And we can see marketing working that way. If we do a search, we then get ads following us around in on Facebook or somewhere else, because the business appreciates it's not a one hit wonder. So in my day-to-day role at Timeline, and it's partly thanks to you, Adebola, when you were a HubSpot professional, introducing us to
Okay.
HubSpot. Yeah, in
Yeah.
introducing us to HubSpot, we've got the ability to look at every touch point on everything, every deal that's signed, and we can see what
Yeah.
that is and the role it's played. So, I think even in the age of AI, AI doesn't necessarily at the moment do the attribution for us, but it's a conduit to better attribution. So again, in HubSpot, I will say this person has done these things, and it's helping us
Hmm.
see the bigger picture. So, I
Yeah.
think it's the blend of the two that works really well. I mean, you must get asked hundreds of questions every week about AI and marketing and what it can do, what it can't do. What are people asking you about?
I recently built a product for a client, who is in the financial sector, but they're big banking and regulatory. So they didn't want to just get regulatory reports all the time. They
Mm,
wanted us to go into social media, blogs, and conversations online to
yes.
pull conversations around products that are banking products. So we
Yes.
build this tool, it's a sentiment analysis tool, and it immediately compares brand to brand, product to product, banks to banks based on positive sentiments, negative sentiments. And I felt that when that product came on and we're built, I was just like, come on, this is next level. So what this then begins to do is just the same way nowadays we don't have influencers. Everyone seems to be an influencer when they have a phone. They just create content, they sit in their living room and they talk about whatever it is they want to talk about, and they now influence on that. That particular one post can go viral, another one might not go viral anymore, but they're an influencer. I think that's the same way that brands are beginning to understand that every customer that uses your product, walks by your product, understands your, sees your signage, sees your logo anywhere, every customer is now a potential feedbacker,
Oh,
like a
exactly.
potential touch point on whether your product is good or it's not great. So when we start as marketers to see things in that way, we don't just try our best to pull up the G620s and then the red carpets only for those that are premium customers or only for those that we think when they buy, they talk about. Everybody now can talk about it.
Yeah.
So how are we relooking the way we market, so that just that one post can go viral, and that's what makes us.
Exactly. I mean, in the original question, do we need
Yeah.
marketing now we've got AI? I think if you look at, let's take in my world a financial advisor
Yeah.
who's really good, imagine it's a really good financial advisor firm, and they're trying to attract end clients, so
Mm-hmm.
people who need financial advice. And even if that person has done a search on Google or done a search in something like ChatGPT, it will give them
Yeah.
an answer and it might say the firm's name if they're lucky, if they've done a good job of AEO or SEO and content. When that
Yeah.
happens, when that name's presented, usually it comes with a website address attached to it. So when the person clicks on the website address, the website still has to be good. It still has to convince the person to make the
Mm.
inquiry. The copy has to be right. The messaging has to be right. The person looking at the website will probably make a decision to call or email or not email within 7 seconds, 10 seconds. So if
Yeah,
the website isn't very good, even if that firm has done a great job to become visible in a something like ChatGPT,
the
it still needs the
assets.
foundations. They have to be there.
Yeah,
So these are
yeah,
these are things that we can't escape. We can't overlook the basics just because we've got this exciting new
yeah,
technology
yeah,
available to
yeah.
us. And
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity, like you just said. Like, get your house in order, make sure all your assets are working, make sure every touch point is an opportunity, to showcase who you are as a brand and what you do. And just before you get off, because I know that I have you on the short time. So Tom, last question. And that's just because riding on this, you are a CMO and you work on all this all the time. Can you let me know whether you think we now need to relook the way we create metrics now in marketing? Does it mean that CMOs, CFOs have to go back and recreate the old marketing journey on how they are measured and how we start to present back to the business on how we're adding something to the journey?
I think actually, that if you look at Gartner, the famous organization, they produce this thing called a hierarchy of marketing metrics, which basically
Okay.
says it's a pyramid. If you imagine a pyramid, at the bottom of that pyramid, it's all the data that a marketer would need to do their job, looking after something like email marketing or AdWords or another channel. As you go up to the top of the pyramid, that's like the board level metrics. And just
Yeah.
beneath that is like the CEO, CFO metrics and CMO metrics. What we need and they need really is the bottom line. What has marketing done in terms of its direct effect on the business? So I would look at
Mm,
that. There's probably two things I would say if I was asked that question. One would be brand recognition. How many of our target audience know who we are as a business and what we offer? So if that figure's
yeah.
high, that's really good. If it's developing over time, that's really good. If it's low or declining, that's where we've got a problem. And the
Mm,
second thing is how many products or how many deals or how many actions. Let's say if it's a holiday business, how many holidays have we sold? How many sales have we made? That's the bottom line. And of those sales, how many can we say marketing has had a role in? So we again would look at marketing touch points on a deal as a number. So we'd have an average figure, and we do have an average figure for the number of touch points in every deal. In a direct to consumer product, you would want that figure to be as low as possible because marketing is expensive. It's usually a
yeah.
simple decision to purchase or not purchase it. In a B2B business, it's going to be more complex, more touch points there. So I'd say in answer to the question, I don't think anything fundamental has changed because it always comes back to the bottom line. There's a lot more data that you, or a member of the marketing team would be interested in. Open rate, click through rate, unsubscribe rate in email, number of impressions, the cost per thousand or CPM, all of this. Does a CEO or board need to know that? Probably not. They're not going to be interested. Or they might
100%.
ask for it on a special occasion, but not generally. So I would say the fundamentals are still the same. How we get there can be different, and AI should supercharge and it should make it easier for a lot of those the 7 out of 10 marketing teams that don't feel confident in attribution. I think it's an opportunity to get things right using AI.
Mm,
Let's face it, if we went to LinkedIn now, we could export a CSV of all of the social posts we'd made over a year or whatever period. We could put that into ChatGPT, one of the more simple AIs, and say something like, "Can you tell me what the key trends are in this and what are the key
yeah,
results?"
true,
And it would
true.
come up straight away with metrics. So that's the brilliance of AI that we need to harness and make sure we use. And that's part of the magic, I would say.
It is magical. There's something that keeps coming to me now when it comes to revenue.
Mm,
When it comes to revenue attribution, I'm thinking revenue influence as well. Because with revenue influence, we're saying, like I was saying about the influencers, is for us now to be able to track with the sales team to
mm.
say, where are you seeing? Because people are not getting to the clicks, but they're converting. So where's that journey? Where are the different? Do we need to look at more touch points in this journey so that as a team we can agree that marketing is contributing to your funnel? It just might not have come from the traditional points because people are moving now erratically around the brand. So let's sit together and understand how we can start to attribute a number of these conversions or folks in the funnel to marketing? Because one way or the other, we're contributing to the way you're converting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's important. Attribution sounds quite overwhelming. It sounds
Yeah.
like it's technical for a lot of marketers. They're unsure where to go. How do we fix this? We're doing all this marketing, but how the hell do we fix this? My advice would be start small. Take
That's
one single transaction and see what we can map out. And then we can start to say, okay, with this particular channel, it's easy to measure. This one's harder. Something like if someone's been in a webinar and the webinar has convinced them or helped convince them that they want to, go with your business, and they don't tell you in the webinar, but then
yeah.
3 days later they phone up the business. There's an
Hmm.
easy way to solve that, which is just make it a part of that telephone service call that you
Process.
ask them,
Yeah.
can I just ask you, where did you hear about us?
Yeah,
And that will at
exactly.
least give you one bit of information. If you don't ask that question, you'll never know. And it takes like a second. So there are things like that that are quite simple that can be put in place. And gradually we get more coverage in terms of attribution across that piece. I think possibly what's changed is it's less personally in my scenario. I'm less interested in the different attribution models than I once was. For me, it's more simple, straightforward. You would look at the touch points, the order of those touch points in a sort of straight line rather than a U
Yeah.
shape or a first touch, last touch. I think it's more just what is that journey now, and that's probably the way it's changed. But the good news is for anyone out there, if
Yeah.
you're not comfortable with your attribution, you think it's impossible. It isn't impossible. There's always a solution, and if nothing else, AI gives us more of the answers than we would have had before.
And like Tom said, start small. Like no matter what it is, just pick one item, one transaction, one opportunity, and see how it tracks, and take it from there. So I guess that's
Definitely.
it from us today. But before we leave, Tom, you think about your last, like everything you've said today, just one thing you don't want anyone to forget. For me, one thing I don't want you to forget, Tom, just 1 second. Yeah, one thing I don't want you to forget is influencers. Just think about the fact that not everyone you know is your customer, is currently your customer. So think about how you can find others, influence others, create opportunities for others so that when they have to say anything about your brand, it's going to be something that actually pops you up there, maybe makes it go viral. Yeah. So Tom, over to
That's
you.
a great one. I would say, in the context of everything we've talked about, and imagine you've got a CFO, CEO, or even you're unsure of the results of marketing. Imagine a scenario. Imagine what would happen if we turned marketing off. We just stopped marketing. It's highly, highly unlikely that sales would increase. It's highly, highly unlikely that more people would know about the business. So imagine that's the last thing a business should do and work backwards from there. Marketing has a key role to play in any business. It's a key conduit to reaching the audience, and sometimes the only way we can reach a target audience. So the last thing a business should do is turn off marketing. It's important, needed, and absolutely critical to growth. But you don't expect me to say that, but it is true.
You said it. So yes, thanks everyone for listening today. From me, it's to do. See you again next time when we have another conversation. Tom,
And for me, it's goodbye. Have a great week. Have a great rest of the month.
cheers.